Welcome to another episode of Mark My Bird. Yes, we're still doing this podcast, and no, we still don't have a jingle that we're going to use every episode. Think of it as the testing and development stages. If you got a jingle, send it our way. But my name is T-Bird.
And I'm Mark Clavin.
And Clavin, getting right into it, you got some pretty big news, buddy. Your birthday was yesterday, and I completely forgot about it, and I'm so sorry.
Technically, you did talk to me yesterday. You were just talking massive shit about the Celtics beating the team I was hoping to be your team.
Well, let's talk about it because it seems to me like you're a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, but you're rooting against my team solely out of spite. Am I correct in that?
Yes. And just, you have a historically terrible fan base that I think most people can get behind rooting that they lose.
I will say New England, mainstream sports, no matter who it is, Bruins, Red Sox, Patriots, Celtics, it feels like if they're on the brink of success, all of New England is like frantically rooting for them and the rest of the world is rooting against them. Like, doesn't matter what part of the country, if it's like a Boston or New England team, everywhere else in the country is like, no, I want the other team to win.
I'm so confident that you guys won't win the NBA Finals. I will give you on the record here. You can put any bet up you want against me. You will lose to the Dallas Mavericks. Feel free to name your terms.
Okay, let's go. Seeing as it's probably going to be the Dallas Mavericks, you're a big Kyrie Irving fan, rightly so, as he played for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Won us a championship, yeah.
But yeah, he won y'all a championship with a big shot. If the Boston Celtics lose the NBA Finals, regardless of the team, I will wear a Kyrie Irving Dallas Mavericks jersey on the next taping of the podcast. But if the Celtics win, you're wearing a Jaylen Brown jersey on the podcast. Boston Celtics Jaylen Brown jersey.
Fair. Done.
Bet. Digital handshake.
It's super hard to not also just like one up and be like, I'll dye my hair green, but I just...
What about...
But since it's on the record, I'm just going to shut up and allow whatever you want. So yeah, that sounds good. Easy.
Well, seeing as it's the Dallas Mavericks, I would either have to dye my hair black or blue. You'd go green. Nah, no, let's not get into hair dyeing. I don't want to dye.
We can, and I can forego a Cleveland update in the intro because with our guest this week, I want to be talking about Cleveland with him because he spent a good amount of time here 2 winters ago, I believe.
Okay, well, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, do we have something special for your ears today? And no, they're not headphones because we still don't have a headphone sponsor. Calling Skull Candy JBL, hit us up. It's the beautiful tones and symphonies of Mr. Jake Kuzyk, widely regarded as one of the greatest snowboarders of our generation. This dude is surgical in the streets. Put it this way, your favorite snowboarder is watching and dissecting Kuzyk parts in order to perfect their craft. He's also a talented artist, filmer, and he's putting out highly renowned skate films on the yearly. His name is Jake Kuzyk. Come on in, Jake.
How's it going?
How am I looking, be honest? The framing.
Did you just come from a shooting range?
No, why? Because I have shades on?
Yeah, well, yellow shades.
Full honesty, I have like a little eye issue that I'm dealing with right now, and so this is my safety blanket. Having these on making me feel pretty good. Because you guys use the video, right?
We do use the video on YouTube, and then we just post the audio on Spotify and Apple.
Yeah, no, if anyone's had a sty before, they know that they suck.
I've had them, and I'm pretty sure it's from snowboard goggles.
Okay, well, I haven't snowboarded in a while and definitely haven't worn goggles because I normally wear shades in the spring, so I can't even use that as an excuse.
Okay, those things hurt, though.
So I moved into a new place here recently, and I was replacing all the bulbs in the ceiling, and so I kind of think I just got dust into my eye when it was staring straight up and moving everything around. But yeah, it's been brutal. It's been like a month. It's actually quite okay now. You can probably barely tell, but anyways, little personal health fun fact for everyone to kick this thing off.
Yeah, for Podcasting 101, that's what you do. Right as soon as your guest comes in, you just attack them, and hopefully, they have a health issue.
I mean, you guys were talking about sports for what felt like ever, and my eyes just glazed over, so...
I actually get pink eye a lot of times when I stay with T-Bird on trips, so I kind of understand.
Yeah, that is true. Jake, getting into the hard-hitting questions first and foremost, what's your morning drink? Coffee, tea, none of the above? What do you go to like first thing in the morning?
Coffee. I try not to have too much coffee though, and I only usually have one a day, and then I'll switch to decaf. I'm gonna keep going, but
now
drink coffee. Or sorry, I love coffee so much, but I didn't drink caffeinated coffee. I had only had decaf for like a year just now, and then snowboarding kind of this winter. I got back on the caffeine because I had to. But
when we're talking coffee, are you like a Mr. Coffee, just scoop it in there and go? Or are you like kind of grinding and like with a fancy machine, maybe espresso style, Americano style?
when I'm home, I'm definitely making pour overs, but it's just because I live alone, and it's like the best way to make one cup. I think it tastes so good. Yeah, that's kind of it. I will hit like Tim's and all that stuff though. I'm down for like shit coffee. It's a different experience that's fun in its own way, you know.
My like guilty pleasure on like road trips or street trips. I don't do it on the regular in Portland, but on like a road trip, I'll smack just a shitty gas station coffee with like
a Dunkin' situation, or what's your kind of?
I'll go like Plaid Pantry, I'll go Cumberland Farms, I'll go like Pilot gas station, and then to make it even more embarrassing, I even drop in one of those shitty half a French vanilla creamers, which is disgusting.
Truly disgusting. Cool.
It's super gross. Like really burnt coffee. I don't know why. It reminds me of like when I started drinking coffee in New Hampshire, it was like Cumberland Farms and Dunkin' Donuts. So I was like raised on shitty coffee.
But I'd prefer that over a Starbucks, let's say. Starbucks is nasty, I think. Like it's really bad. I don't know.
Clavin, what is the coffee scene in Cleveland? Is it on the come up or is it still pretty shit? Because Portland is top notch.
Yeah, I mean, we're not like we're not a Portland or a trendy, I don't really know. But no, we have coffee here. We have, contrary to your belief, T-Bird, we are not a third world country here in Cleveland. We have fancy coffee, we have fancy food, we have the full spectrum.
Yeah.
But I feel like American cities like that. I love American cities like that now, like a place like Cleveland, because everything's so cheap. People are doing cool stuff. So it's like all sorts of, whether it be coffee or restaurants or whatever, they're all really cool because they can afford to take risks and do interesting stuff.
Yeah, well, actually, we can get into it right now. So like 2022, because I was in Beijing for the whole month, but like your whole crew came here and filmed Emerald Necklace in the metro parks and like just a bunch of areas of the city. Did you enjoy your time in Cleveland?
I loved it. I would love to go back. I mean, I think it was pretty rare that they got that good of a winter. And I felt so lucky to be there that whole time because we got it so perfect as far as just like, it just kept snowing. And that only happens like once a year nowadays, I feel like, where you'll show up somewhere, the rest of the winter, you're sort of spent like trying to find good snow and you're scraping or it's raining and it's just awful, but you always get that one good trip where you just nail it and you're somewhere where like the winter is crazy. And Cleveland was that place for that winter for sure. Well, I guess just most of Ohio, but Cleveland especially.
That's phenomenal to hear. That's so. That's a better review than
you missed it.
Yeah, I was so. I mean, like obviously, Oldie's one of my favorite photographers, and just like when we worked at the Snowboarder, awesome guy. And I heard that you guys were coming into town just as I was taking off.
Well, Oldie was with Vans, and I was there with K2.
Oh, okay, Mark O'Malley.
Yeah, and Seamus. But there was a bit of crossover. We saw each other and hung out.
I mean, like that was the only time where there was that many pro snowboarders of your guys' caliber in Cleveland.
Yeah, I love it because I remember like even after once the footage came out, we were starting to post photos and stuff. People from Cleveland will send you messages being like, as if you did that, as if you went there. Like, that's so sick, I think, when you kind of can tell it's a place that people don't, like pros don't go that often. And then suddenly like everything gets hit and all the stuff you were a kid, like looking at the spots, hoping someone would hit or you wanted to hit or whatever. And then eventually this really good winter happens. The pros just like crush it and you get to see it all. It's like,
and besides like our huge LeBron poster, your shot, like the video shot, I didn't really see too many photos of it, but if you coming down that wall ride with like the skyline in the background, that'll stick in my memory personally forever. Like I know exactly where that wall is. I know exactly like where that spot is, which also it's like industrial, not the nicest area, but like pretty sick that you guys went there. And then you kind of have like Key Bank, like you just have these, that was very special to watch for a kid from Cleveland.
Oh, that's cool. That spot in particular was a crazy amount of work. I had to saw a bunch of bolts that were in the run up. It was impossible to get snow up onto that because it's a very tiny little platform where you start for that thing. So it's just like getting the run in made and everything. But then it was so crazy. It snowed like probably 4 inches overnight when we got to that thing. So the wall was perfectly covered in snow and everything. It was really nice.
I think you guys linked up with Chris Hanford maybe to show a few spots when you guys were here. I don't know if you remember that name. Toby
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, like that's a kid I grew up snowboarding with. Like,
So cool.
yeah, and I was literally, he's texting me, like I was texting him from China, very different time frames, but like I was so bummed I could not come out there and shoot with you guys.
Oh, it's too bad. Nah, yeah. Well, next time, let us know when it snows. We'll come back.
Yeah, that was probably we used to have really good winters, but same with everywhere. It's just like they're spotty and few and far between now.
I mean, Ohio had some of the best spots, though. I'd love to go to Cincinnati. I'd love to go to like all that stuff.
Oh, dude, Cincinnati, if they actually had consistent snow, it's built into a bowl. Like, I mean, it's like it's like, it is insane.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Pittsburgh.
Intrigue there too that I like. So I feel like I'm just sort of intrigued by the place in general.
Before we do, is there any, do you remember any food here? And so, like, did you guys have any other experiences outside of snowboarding in the city that you were memorable? Because how long are you actually here for?
Probably 12 days. We moved around a lot, a couple different Airbnbs. I'm trying to think if there was any food that's going to stick out to me in this moment. I'm having a hard time. I remember liking it a lot. I remember just thinking it was cool to be around the city. I just think those sort of like older American cities where certain parts of it have just been forgotten and you kind of get like unbothered and all that. Like it's my favorite kind of place to be. I think the footage looks best because, you can find a quiet little spot, maybe like in like an abandoned little area and it looks awesome. It's like the best.
I feel like there's in street snowboarding, there's like a resurgence of those once like powerful industrial cities that kind of like went to rubble a little bit, but are now on the come up again, like the Detroits, the Pittsburghs, the Clevelands. There's like such a draw for crews to go there because the go-tos, right? The Salt Lake Cities, the Minneapolises have just been seen so much that it's almost like riders are looking for new spots and new landscapes.
Oh yeah, we're forced to at this point. I mean, there's so many people filming street snowboarding now, and then everyone is so good. It feels like the winters are getting shorter with less snow. So what used to kind of be this idea of like, you get your crew together, you all buy a plane ticket, show up, rental van, hang out in one place for 10 days. Like that's not really even how it works anymore, Like, and you look at crews like the Dust Box, they have their van and they just move from all those cities. And in a lot of ways, like doing that, you find yourself in a lot more unique situations and you can find a lot more cool untouched spots because who else is doing that? You know what I mean? And that's like kind of a crazy thing on a snowboard trip. To have that many people and all that gear and you're moving like locations, it's fucking a nightmare. So it really is. So I think it's so cool that those guys did that sort of thing. And I think that's becoming more popular for the younger generation anyways.
If you could live, because you're based in Vancouver, if you could live in any city in the US, what would be your draw?
Nowhere.
But like, okay, say you had to. Is there a city?
I'm kidding. I like for snowboarding specifically, you'd say like
no, for lifestyle, just for a city that you connect with in the US where you're
lately considering how it would be nice to spend some time in LA because I've been going there quite a bit and I just have like a really good group of friends and I don't know, I feel a certain way when I'm there as of lately. It's really nice. I've been enjoying it. So I did a month-long sublet at a friend's place in Silver Lake last year. I might do something similar again, but also I just bought a new place here in Vancouver, so I don't think I'm going anywhere anytime soon. And I'm also trying to save money, so I'm just gonna keep sort of situated and get moving in and comfortable. But anyways, yeah, LA is fun. I've been really enjoying it. So maybe that, but I don't know. Long term, it's tough. I don't know too many spots because, especially just from a snowboarding perspective, because the reason Vancouver is sort of the spot is because Seymour is 30 minutes from my house. The airport is 25 minutes from my house. Whistler is 2 hours. Baker is an hour and a half. Like the ocean is right there. Downtown has all this amazing skateboarding. Like everything in my life I like is within 30 minutes. And so, and I don't know, you guys tell me, I don't think there's anywhere in North America that can really offer that. Like Portland, it's 2 hours to all those same things.
Yep.
And then California, it's even more. So I don't know. This really does feel like the perfect place. It's a bit of like a golden handcuff situation because I've been here 14 years now. And when I think about leaving, I don't know if I can.
I was going to ask you to give us the top 3 reasons that Vancouver is a rad place to live, but I think you just listed them. The closest I've found, I mean, we did the Salt Lake thing, but there's no water there. Yeah, it's a great place to live as a snowboarder, but I kind of like the coast. I grew up in New Hampshire, semi-close to the ocean. Portland is the closest I've found, but you're right. It's 2 hours to Mount Hood on like a weekend and 2 hours to the coast. But it's kind of the closest I've found of best of both worlds in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I love visiting Salt Lake. Recently, I go more than ever, but it becomes exhausting being in one place where there's that many pro snowboarders who just that's all they fucking do and talk about all day long. It's kind of brutal after a while to me, but I avoided it so hard for years. Like I was like, I can't go there. It's just too much. But at the same time, I get it and it is fun. And the snow is just so good, man. Like I've been loving it, especially since all our friends now kind of have homes and I'd say like it's the one place in probably the States where I know I can show up on a whim and have a million friends and a place to stay and it's comfortable and really myself. So I've been.
I feel like my wife and I probably would have stayed in Salt Lake had we not had Louis. Like the minute we had Louis, we were thrust onto like a completely different level than a lot of the people we hung with because we're on the older side. And then once you have the kiddo, people are like, yo, you want to come out to dinner? I'm like, yeah, what time? And they're like 8:30. And I'm like, yeah.
That's bedtime.
Yeah. I was like, dude, I'm asleep at like 9, you know?
How many kids do you have? You were 1, 2?
We're 1, yeah. And Louis is going to be 7 years old in August.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We just hit a 4-mile mountain bike ride yesterday with
7, dude. We went 7 miles up and back.
See, that's why I'm not offended. You didn't text me on my birthday about my birthday. You're being a very involved parent. That's what you should be doing.
It was dope.
Is Louis kind of getting to that age now where you can become party dad again? Like, you know,
kind of, yeah. It's like I can become travel dad again. Like before, you know, ages like 1 to 4, when you leave for a 2-week trip, it's fucking gnarly on my wife. But now it's, you know, it's like, hey, go take a bath, go take a shower, get dressed. You know, she can kind of like make herself food if she needs to. She's like so much more self-sustainable than when they're at that like just starting to walk age, because you just kind of have to do everything for them. She's more like the homegirl. Like we just walk around and shoot the shit. Like we just talk.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's pretty all time.
When I was that age, all I knew how to make was nachos.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If I ask her to make her own food, she would probably try to dial up some nachos or like she'd probably make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
That's not so bad.
That's what she'd go with.
What kind of place did you buy in Vancouver?
Well, so I lived in a condo for years, and it was like just a kind of classic small condo, traditional layout, really easy. And I kind of was becoming bored of it. It was just like a very safe, smart investment type situation, but it wasn't anything all that inspiring. And it was a bit of part of town that like was pretty sleepy, not much walkability, but kind of close to getting to the mountain. And then I don't know, last year it just dawned on me. I'm like, all right, I'm like entering my mid-30s. I'm single. Like I've never lived downtown. I kind of want to just give that a shot. It's not something I necessarily think I'm going to do when I'm 40. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to move so I'm in a neighborhood now that's like on the sort of northeast part of downtown. It's called Gastown. And there's just like stuff everywhere. Like my life has become so much more social and spontaneous and honestly creatively inspiring and so many things since moving here in January, just because I walk out my door and like there's just so much to see, and I've never really had that before. So I've been loving it for that reason. And then the place is actually, it's funny because it's a loft kind of, and it's just a studio. So it is a little bit bigger than my last spot, which is awesome, but not much. And also it's like I had like 2 rooms and an office and all this stuff at the last place, and now I just live in like a giant box. I love it. It's a bit of a challenge with figuring out like storage and certain things, but it's a fun challenge because, you know, there's a lot of opportunity to do something more unique in a place like this. And I love furniture design. And so I just, it's been a good time. It's like a new sort of project.
You have to like transition into like the Japan style of thinking. Like I feel like of any culture, they've completely mastered the art of living in a smaller space. It's like incredible, the design aspects that are incorporated into things to make their lives more efficient.
Yeah, so much like multi-use, but it still looks beautiful and it's simple. Yeah, I mean, I'm already, I guess you could say, a minimalist in the sense that I just like hate stuff. I own very few things, and I try to only own things that I really love. And so when I moved, I purged even more, considering I barely owned anything in the first place. And then getting here, I just every day get rid of more and more stuff, and I love it, man. It feels so good.
Yeah, for the
One
people,
of my favorite things in life is to get rid of shit.
but for people that don't resonate with that feeling, like describe what it's like to just go through and fucking clean house.
Yeah, it's like my, it's like my, like I'll tell my therapist about it, and she's like, okay, well, that's a coping mechanism. Or so like I definitely, it's the kind of thing where if I feel kind of crazy and I just go and get rid of a few things, whether that's like clothes or garbage or whatever the hell it is, I feel so kind of like relaxed and free from it. And then also something about just only having stuff you love and use every day is like the best feeling to me.
Well,
and also environmentally, it's a really good way to live because you're just not like consuming quite so much, and you know.
You also don't have to dust as much. And has your therapist ever heard of Marie Kondo? People have been doing this. I mean, that's been a mechanism to get through the day for I don't know how long.
Of course.
I just looked that up too. She is Japanese. I did not know, like, because you were saying the art, this Japanese whole thing. So I kind of now have to see this Marie Kondo stuff. I just throw stuff away because I don't want to deal with it. Bills.
You live alone there, Clayton?
No, I've had the same partner for like 14 years, but she's very organized, so it's pretty easy.
Oh, that's ideal.
Yeah. Well, and not to get like too abstract, but explaining that kind of minimalist ideology that you formed over the years, I can kind of see it directly in your snowboarding. It's like perfectly executed, at times simplistic, foundational, and just like kind of beautiful to watch. Not to shower you with too much praise, but I do see a direct correlation between that kind of minimalist, beautiful approach to how you approach your snowboarding.
I don't think it's necessary. Well, I mean, of course it's intentional in a way, but I don't know any other way. I think as far as just, I was thinking about this the other day. Like I watched someone like Rad, let's say, who is kind of the complete opposite type of snowboarder as I am. But I love watching him for inspiration, even though like nothing I do is ever going to look like that. But it sort of like reminds me that there's another way. And I try to sort of break free of that, of how I operate, because I think that's kind of a healthy thing in life. But then again, when I try, this form of approach just is what resonates with me. And anything else can sort of like throw me off focus in this sort of way. So and like as I get older, I learn more about that in myself and others too. So it's kind of fun to watch people, and especially like other pro snowboarders, and how they move through the process and how they operate, because everyone is so much different, and it's like a direct sort of result of like what you get. It's not just your personality at the end of the day.
Is that also what you like in skateboarding too? Like, do you like that more kind of simplistic approach?
For sure, definitely. I mean, well, this is like such a bigger conversation than like, but yeah, no, I mean, I've always liked that. I've always liked people who are just sort of like simplistic and considerate, hold themselves to a certain standard and move through that, versus quite so chaotic and just kind of, I don't know. I think, like you said, the foundation of it is sort of important to me, because I think, you kind of have to look what's come before you and see what's really sort of worked and been exciting over the years, and then sort of take that, like do what you will with it on your own terms and move forward. Like, I don't know. That makes sense, but.
Yeah, you grow a little, but also if it's not broke, you don't have to fix it.
Did you find in your early years, like maybe even before you were pro and you had these opportunities to film video parts, did you find that you kind of had to be the other way? Were you like, I got to get a front 270, cab 270, and like doing tricks you wouldn't necessarily curate because you were so new to the video part game? Or have you always had that approach?
I mean, a little bit for sure. I still think that's important. Like, I definitely every winter try and sort of push myself to do something that I think people wouldn't expect. But I mean, filming is like, you kind of have to gain momentum. You can't just like, or for me at least, my process has always been like, can get a foundation of clips. And then once you sort of have that confidence built and that sort of like a, let's call it like a portfolio sort of like laid out or whatever, then you can start getting into like a little bit harder stuff out of fear of like, whether that's like injury or not getting it or whatever. It's kind of been, I've always kind of been like a building block type person with video parts. I think that's like the funnest aspect of what we do. Sort of like having what you already have, envisioning what you can get and move from there. And like, that's so fun to me. Like that, I'm so addicted to that, actually, that exact sort of part of it. I was just going to say like quickly, like, yeah, when I was young, I don't know. I don't think I ever felt the pressure to like do some weird, crazy fucking 360 on shit. Like if I was doing that, it was just because I wanted to, not because like I felt like I needed to like stand up next to someone else or something.
You know how you say you approach it like building blocks? I've always found that there are some riders that the first trick they do of the season ends up being their craziest ender. And I've just found that like fucking mind blowing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. You see it sometimes. You look at Cole Navin, like when he like filming is truly like where he is the most confident. Like you ride with him in the park, he's amazing. He's super good, don't get me wrong, but he might not be like explosive in that like just in a casual day ride in the park. But then you get into an environment with him where he's filming and he just like hones in so quickly and starts doing the craziest shit immediately. And I think that's just because he's like confident in his ability and knows what he wants to do. So as soon as he gets to a spot that he likes, doesn't matter if it's the first day of the winter or the last, if it's something that he knows is sort of a rare, unique spot that he's excited about, he's like going to take that opportunity and throw everything into it. So I think that's just filming in general. Like sometimes you just arrive, you look at something and you're like, dude, I never see something like this. It's so cool. I'm terrified right now. I absolutely am going to do this because there's like no other option. And I think that's kind of one of the more unique parts about snowboarding compared to, let's say, skateboarding or, I mean, maybe surfing and other shit like this. It's like you arrive somewhere sometimes, you're like, okay, the snow is good. It's Sunday night. This thing opens on Monday, blah, blah, blah. All these sort of things come together where suddenly you're in a situation where you're like, I actually have to do this. There is no other moment for the rest of my winter or maybe even fucking life where I'm going to have this opportunity. I have to do it now. And that creates like such a cool thing sometimes. Like I've definitely done tricks where I was like, holy shit, if I wasn't like a crazed animal with my back against the wall because I'm like in this weird circumstance, I probably wouldn't have like signed up for this one. But
is there, just for like Jake Kuzyk himself, just speaking for you, is there any feature nowadays, be it that you've like hit it so many times or you just don't really, it doesn't really speak to you? Is there any type of feature that's just like a non-starter, be it like a down rail or a wall ride or anything like that?
Good question.
In snowboard, like for spots, let's say it's definitely a waterfall rail for sure, or just like a flat bar to bank. Even though those are so, I'm so funny. Like I'll even find shit like that. Be like, guys, it's a really good like rail to bank, and then I'm like, I don't even want to fucking hit this. Why am I talking like, you know? But yeah, I guess a few things like that for sure. It's all sort of situational. You can't say for sure exactly, but because even a waterfall rail or some crap, like you might see it and be like, oh, it's actually kind of sick. It's got this unique aspect to it. It's different. Like, let's do it. I try to give more like have less tension around those decisions and just snowboard and then see what comes of it, you know? Because you never know. It's easy for me. I'm the type of person that really likes to like wait for the right thing and then go hard on it. But at the same time, like some of my favorite things I've ever filmed have been stuff where it was just like a total experiment and then it works out and you're glad. So
what about the balance? Like you're obviously not degenerate. Like there's some guys that like I would never ask this question, but you seem like a very respectful, functioning member of society. As far as like you see a spot, it's like it's exactly what you were envisioning for that season where you wanted to get a certain trick on it. But like there is a high possibility of damaging that public resource for like the community around that area. So whatever it doesn't have to be dramatic. It's not like you're like breaking a handrail that a person can't walk up the stairs. But I'm just talking like, do you ever think about that balance where it's like I might scratch this like brand new thing up? Like, did that weigh with you when you leave the spot? Is it the most important to get your art on that? Because in reality, you know where I'm getting at.
No, totally. I definitely a little bit. Probably not as much as I should be because like lately I've been cutting some shit the fuck down and like we've been doing some wild stuff. But at the same time, I feel like there's sort of a what's not risk to reward, but there's like a balance that you have to consider where okay, I'm not going to destroy this thing that is made of some, maybe it's like wood or something and it's handcrafted and it's like clearly a lot of work went into this, and my like metal edge or whatever the fuck I'm going to do is going to really fuck it up, and then the clip's going to kind of suck because it's a wood rail anyways. Like, who cares? So there's like certain sort of things I won't do in that way because it just doesn't seem worth it at the end of the day. But no, we've been getting pretty wild lately. Unfortunately, snowboarding is at this point, especially street snowboarding, where if you want to get a good clip that is something you kind of know another person isn't going to do, you have to sort of get pretty insane. And you have to definitely be like half building a spot, or because everything out there is just available. So people can just show up and do something gnarlier than you at any minute. But if you have the sort of ability to find something that isn't quite there yet and then make some alterations, then you know for a fact someone else hasn't hit it yet and it's yours in that sense. But
yeah.
So we do actually do a lot of like sort of damage to property these days.
Well, and
more than you think back at like when you first started, you're doing more now.
Oh no, yeah. When you first started, you'd like pull up to the down rail with a generator and you're there for 4 hours and you have 5 clips. It was so easy.
My favorite damage clip that I do not care about at all ever is whenever you like anybody hits a light post and the light falls. I know you've definitely had 1 or 2 of those in your career. Just kind of
I
like
was in Bulgaria, and I was like hitting this spot. It was like a long flat bar, and I slipped out, cross-checked this really tall light post, and it was much taller than even I was in the air at that moment, and I fell into the snow, and the top of this like ancient, this thing was probably like 100 years old, it seemed like, and the top of this decorative sort of light post fully snapped off, and it was twice the size of my head, this big steel thing, and it landed right next to my body, like a foot next to my head as I was like, cause I just hit the rail, fell to my back, and then this thing just plopped down next to it. It was really sketchy, actually. I think it's in landline.
That's like a Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote moment. You almost got crushed.
I've had a few of those, man. Like I almost got chewed up by a snowmobile track when I was probably 24, whatever, 26 or something. But yeah, dude, yeah.
What was your first video part that when it came out, you kind of thought to yourself, like, shit, I think I've kind of made it. I think I'm doing the thing that I've always wanted to do.
Now I'm trying to go back and think of 14 years of video parts.
Yeah, I know there's a lot.
I mean, there was moments where I had recognition that I understood was like, okay, like this feels as if you're maybe a professional snowboarder now. But I think after filming for the second Deja Vu video, which was already kind of well into my snowboarding career, like I think I was already on Vans even by that point. But I remember they had offered the opportunity to film for that. It was me and Dylan Ojo. And the rest of the folks in that video, it was the second one. And the rest of the folks in that video were all best friends. They're all the French Canadian homies. And they were insane. They were sort of like known as the gnarliest dudes at the time. So the fact that they were willing to sort of like open that up and let new people into their video, and it was me and Dylan, it felt like pretty special. And so I remember feeling a lot of pressure for that video. Like maybe one of the most, I put a lot of like pressure on myself. And so when the part came out, I actually quite liked it at the time. So that felt good. Maybe that was it.
I always thought that was really cool because, those dudes put out the first Deja Vu film. The second one was called Encore, I believe.
Yeah.
And I remember they could have stayed kind of insular and just with their crew and like one-upped what they had done the year before. But I remember seeing you and Ojo on the list, and I was like, that's really fucking dope that they kind of opened it up to allow more people who were on the level to add to that like beautiful project that they put out in year one.
Yeah. And I mean, it was rad. It was still just like all Canadians, which was kind of cool. Because I know those guys always were like frustrated with how much opportunity Americans got. So I think it was a big part of what they did was we're creating our own thing and this is ours and we're going to.
And they were also, I mean, as far as I remember, as far as I consider, I should say, they were kind of like the first Canadian crew that in my memory that were like, yeah, we don't need to move to Whistler to be pro snowboarders. Like we can stay right where we are and do what we do. And we don't have to do that kind of migration out west, which I always thought was one of the biggest parts of all of their legacy.
That's true. I mean, at the time too, Quebec and Quebec City was kind of having a moment. And so I think it was good timing with that as well, you know? Like Forum was going there like crazy and all these people, like all these other big brands and stuff. So I think that helped a lot. But yeah, that was rad. And I think that started something, that timing at least, where now it feels like you really can live wherever and do whatever. And as long as you have someone to work with and film, you could kind of get hooked up and make it happen, which is rad. I like that a lot.
That was like 14 was
Encore?
was Encore 2014?
Yeah, I think so.
2013?
Yeah, that's a good guess.
I know that living in a city in the Pacific Northwest, if there's a snowstorm, it's like the holy grail to get a street clip in like Portland or Seattle or Vancouver. Have you ever gotten a clip in Vancouver?
Yeah, lots actually. But when it does snow here, often it's just 2 days max because it just warms up so quickly. But I've gotten quite a bit of footage. Landline, there was some clips. I think Together Forever, there was some clips. But it's tough. I mean, I don't really have a crew here. Just, a lot of the people I work with live in the States. So when it snows, you just never really know if it's going to happen. And it does. You have 24 hours to figure it out. So oftentimes I'm just tagging along with someone who's a homie and they have their own thing going. But dude, if it ever snowed consistently here, it would be ridiculous. It's such a good city. There's so many spots. It's unreal. And I have lots that I've just never been able to ride on. So,
well, on that topic, I guess this speaks, more to like architecture and layout of cities that you visited in your lifetime. If there's any city on planet Earth that could get like a 3-foot dump and then stay cold for a week and you could go film, what would be your number one and number 2?
Shoot, that's interesting. I don't know. I can't say for sure anywhere I've been where it just doesn't snow, period, because I guess I'm not paying much attention in that moment. But Stockholm, I went there one time and we went out with Jed. I think it was just the two of us. Oh no, maybe Danny Larson and some other folks. It was when they were filming this Nike video. I was going around with them lots at the time just because it was a big budget and they would pay for me to just basically build all the shit. And like, it was so, it was really fun. So we went to Stockholm for what was meant to be 10 days and had 2 days, and then all of the snow melted, and then we ended up just skating the rest of the time. But I would love to go back there, and these days it rarely snows, so I guess there. But a lot of folks went this winter in December. They got like a pretty flash little window, and some people managed to get it and said it was really good. So
between skating and snowboarding, can you go to a city and like actually turn off like your spot finder? Can you actually enjoy a walk down a block and you aren't like, oh, I would like to hit that, or like, oh, this looks good?
That's a great question.
No, for sure not. I mean, a little bit. I definitely feel the older I get, the less focused I am on that because I just have more hobbies these days. And
that's healthy.
Yeah, you're paying more attention to where other things are and whatever. But no, not at all. I'm definitely have been with a boyfriend before or something. We're visiting somewhere and I'm just standing on top of some stupid ass thing or kicking it to see how firm it is or something. And
you're even you're doing the homework and the research at these spots as well.
Yeah. And you're walking back 30 feet and then running kind of towards the edge of it to see what it feels like.
Just making sure your headspace is correct. You're like, oh yeah, no, this feels right. Oh my.
You look like an actual certified crazy person. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? You're shaking the thing. You're like, you think this is made of aluminum? They're like, what?
Swinging the hits and kind of airing a bit of a backflip towards it.
Dude, just toss on a tinfoil hat and you're on the outskirts of society.
That's incredible.
But I have kind of one more question about spots. Obviously, you've had a very successful long career. Video versus photo heavy spots. Do you have a preference? If you're going to a spot, if it's kind of more for the photo, do you feel is there any change in how you're riding it? Is there any stress level difference of if you're going for your perfect video shot and a little bit tougher than just going for a good photo with Oli or Mark?
Well, I've been lucky to always shoot photos with honestly the best people. So I've never really been too concerned. And they're always the coolest. Ollie is so funny because he's excited about you getting a good clip as you are and as getting the photo. So he's just yeah, you do your thing, and he's amazing. So he's going to figure out an incredible way to shoot it. It doesn't really matter what you're doing ever with someone like him. Where I definitely have shot with other people in the past who won't even try. They just decide it's not a good enough trick or spot or whatever to really have a photo shot, and then they just actually straight up won't. Yeah, so I've always been lucky to work with people who I haven't had to worry about that too much. But honestly, as someone who grew up always being a filmer, filming skateboarding and filming my friends snowboard, I'm so obsessed with the filming element of it that I kind of focus there first, for better or for worse. But nowadays, funny enough, I'm obsessed with photos. I don't know, something changed like 2 years ago where now I just getting a really good, especially like a fisheye photo is such a high priority of mine all the time. Like I really value images in this way that I didn't seem to in the past. And it's like we didn't going out and just like shooting photos with friends, no cameras and not filming at all and stuff, because it's a totally different process and it's really cool. You know, you focus more on different things and moments and it's fun. It's kind of relaxing compared to like getting like a video shot. You want it to look really exciting and interesting the entire time, where like a photo you just need this one moment, and so you're kind of working with the person in a different way. So
You just need that base incentive real spread out on that fisheye, just as
yeah.
big as possible.
I mean, I don't even know about that because
Yeah.
I hate to say it, the value within them feels less than ever these days.
Oh yeah, they aren't even real anymore. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
It's you know what I mean? But maybe this is my influencer moment talking, you know, because I like need images for my Instagram. So I'm just like, I want to shoot photos now. But
When did you start filming skateboarding? Because some people may not know that you're a very accomplished skate filmer as well.
I mean, when I was 14, I guess we started like I got a camera when I was really young and started filming immediately from then. But really filming, like putting a lot of effort into making my own videos and whatnot, was when I was about 21. By the time I sort of took a lot of time off filming because I was really focused on snowboarding. And by the time I had sort of turned pro and had a bit more free time and a bit more money, I invested it in camera stuff and used all that time to film skating.
And is that what you're spending like most of your time in the summer doing? Or are you still actively making skate projects?
I was up until about 3 years ago. And I mean, I haven't been so much the last bit, to be honest, but I kind of also can't get away from it. I'm so addicted to it. So I definitely go filming most weekdays, I'd say, but I'm not working on anything too specific. I'm always kind of more just like submitting footage and whatever the friends kind of need.
It is so impressive to be so good at one thing like snowboarding, and then to freely take that the time you have off and dedicate it to another craft and get that good at that craft as well. It's like I don't have that switch in my brain, so I never could understand it. But watching people like yourself, someone so creative in one thing, be able to branch out and actually find success in another form.
For myself, I was definitely I think I'm just so into the process of filming and making videos that I just couldn't stop doing it.
Yeah.
That was all it was. Summer.
It was a carryover from snow.
Yeah. I just wanted to continue that thing because it feels the exact same. You're going out, you're coming up with an idea, you're working towards it, you're collecting footage, you're making something, you're working with a group of people you find interesting and you know you like how they go about it. So like that part of the whole thing has always been what I loved. And so I just wanted to keep doing it.
So if you would have had the budget and the option to go to New Zealand and South America every year since you started filming, would you have, do you think you would have never gotten into filming skating?
No.
Crazy money. You could literally just do it without any hassle.
No, I don't think so. Because I've been, like I said, filming skating and making skate videos with friends since I was a little kid. And I seem to always find time for it, even if I don't have it. I'll definitely prioritize it. I mean, I really cherish my time off. I think it's nice to step away from something like snowboarding because I come back to it refreshed. And if you're doing it for as long as I have now at this point, you need that. Otherwise, it just becomes stale. And like, I even watch myself now. I mean, it's been 14 years of doing it as a career. It kind of goes through flows. Like there'll be like a 2-3 year spurt of being so inspired and you're like really progressing and I watch this at other pros and people older than myself. So I find it's kind of interesting now to consider it for me, but you know, you'll go a few years where it's like all you can think about and focus on. And sometimes you go a couple of years where it's less that and you get excited about other things. And I think that's okay. And I feel like the right brands understand that too. You know what I mean? And they still continue to support people as they sort of move through that. Cause it's your life. You can't just snowboard every single day of your life for 50 plus years and think that that's all that, like, I don't know. It's just not healthy at some point almost. So, and I've always been more interested in people who do kind of have diverse lifestyles and like do different creative things. It makes their snowboarding more exciting to me. It gives context, you know. So I think that's cool.
That's what snowboarding is actually Bird's break from being a father. He's like, oh, sweet, I need 2 weeks so I can get re-inspired.
I'm at the point now though where I can go snowboarding with Louis. So I've like found the perfect.
Oh, that's so.
It used to be my escape for a little bit. You'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna go up to the mountain for a little bit when I was living in Salt Lake. And now we just take Louis to the hill and she just laps the magic carpet and you put her in a lesson and we can go ride and then take some laps together. It's pretty dope.
That's so awesome. And she like she's got it figured out now. Like she can.
Yeah, she's like 60% there. She can do like the heel turn, you know, all the way down and then do it on the toes, but hasn't quite unlocked like the full S turn yet, but can like find her way down a mountain pretty well without falling.
I mean, if she's doing that at age 7, she'll hit 10 and that'll be when things probably like really take off, I'd imagine.
I actually bought a snow skate to kind of make it a little more fun for me because to slow me down a little bit. Then if she falls over, you can just like kick it out and kind of pick her up. And then it what I always say is it turns like a green circle into a black diamond. Like it's dude, it's so fucking sketchy. It's so scary for me that it makes it a little bit more fun. It turns boring terrain into like dynamic terrain while you're snowboarding slowly.
Just bombing a long flat on a snow skate.
Yeah, dude.
I have a little brother that's 6 and they're basically the same age as Louis. And I have to say, Louis is a much better snowboarder than Kingston.
But quickly, just kind of I feel like I kind of just like shitted on certain things for a second. Like snowboarding actually is it's the thing in my life that I love doing the most. And it makes me so fucking happy. And it is definitely the most fun thing that I do. So like in that sense, I'm actually more obsessed with snowboarding now than ever, I'd say. There was like a period in my like mid-20s where it kind of felt like sometimes it was just something we did. Oh, we just filmed and then like don't snowboard.
Right.
Like early 20s, I would just like snowboard and film and like not really do it for fun that much on my own. But now I go snowboarding every single day I can. And it's the best.
I think we're at a point where so many other pro snowboarders, it's so commonplace for them to be interested in other things. And snowboarding is not 100% what defines them as a human. And it's their obsession. But just because something's your obsession doesn't mean like you have to focus on it 365 days a year. Is kind of where I've landed on it, you know? That's something that like parenthood has kind of snapped me out of. Like 10 years ago, all I thought about was snowboarding. And if it was summertime, I couldn't wait to get to Hood, and South America trips were like, you know, super high on the priority list. Whereas now that summertime is when like my daughter's not in school and I'm a little more lax in my schedule working from home where I can just take a full day and just go hang with her. And I really appreciate that. I need that.
That sounds like the best. And I feel like she's at that age, like you said now, where she's become like best friend mode.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of snowboarders are also now sensitive to the fact that there was a time period where we kind of actively shitted on ourselves. I don't know about any of us, but people were like shitting on snowboarding in favor of skateboarding. Mm-hmm. So there's almost now even like a bigger form of protection. I feel like everyone's now kind of defending. It's like, no, we're snowboarders. This is what we do.
Yeah.
I don't know what
someone definitely is having a moment where it seems that subcultures beyond it, let's say, are becoming quite interested in it, you know, even as far as like the fact that whatever, like Supreme decided to do that ride board and make a clip promoting it and, you know, sharing that. I'm like, kind of like, wow, that says something about the moment, whether you give a shit about Supreme or not, or whatever. It's just kind of, you know, I'm like, oh, people are looking to this thing as something that's fun to do, and they're becoming interested in it.
Speaking about snowboarding kind of like maturing and becoming more widely accepted, looking back on the beginning of the winter, as someone who kind of came up in that video grass scene, were you hyped when they announced they were coming back? I know I was, because they were some of my favorite films of all time.
I was, and regretfully, I didn't really film for it. I had a few other things that were sort of like pre-planned, and then they actually fell through. So it was a bit of a funny winter in that sense. I'll have a couple things in there in the end, which, I'm glad, because the idea of a new video happening and not being a part of it would make me sad. So, but it's sick. It's sick. I've seen some of the footage. I know who was filming for it. It went really well. So I really think it's actually going to be by far one of the better videos of the year.
The younger generation now probably cites like your parts. I mean, you had the closer in probably one of the biggest movies of the past, decade and a half. I mean, like, how does it feel to kind of now be in a position where people are looking up to you? You're mentoring a ton of riders, it seems like just you popping up. Actually, this is like a 3-part question. I guess, okay, first off, how does it go from filming for major projects like that? And I'm not calling Dorothy a smaller project, but just like that is a smaller, shortened film compared to going with those major feature-length films. Is there a difference? Do you cherish one more than the other? We don't have to pit it against, I guess, the feelings on those.
It depends on the mood. I mean, when Dorothy came along, it was the perfect thing for me, and it was exactly what I needed because it was, well, not only was it like a bit of a more relaxed approach for myself because I wasn't really a part of the video. I was more of like a guest. So I got to come in and just have a lot of fun and see what worked. And that was exactly what I needed. But also just being able to film with other queer people and women especially was the speed I needed very much at that time. Having just basically done 10 straight years of filming with intense straight boys and that sort of energy that comes from that. But so I loved it for that alone. But I will say, when you're filming for something bigger like a landline or whatever, we all just, moaned and groaned the entire time we were filming for that. We were just like definitely frustrated because of the amount of pressure that was being put on us and ourselves. But you can't deny the fact that it forces you into a place that's pretty insane. And you do stuff that you would otherwise never do.
You kind of feel, like you said with Dorothy, you were a bit more of a guest, right? So the pressure was off a bit, but with Landline, you're more of like an athlete, right? Like you're the talent.
I suppose you could put it in that words for sure. I mean, it's something like that. It's just like, I mean, also too, like independent projects are more of like your own sort of expression, where a brand is for a brand. You have to show up. It's kind of like this is how much I value the brand, is like how much effort I put into this or something. It's kind of like a direct response. So
I remember when I was working for Ride during Landline, and at a certain point I was like, man, it's so hard to shoot with the Ride squad because they're just always with vans. And Tanner McCarty was like, dude, fuck it, let them film with vans. Like it's going to be such a like media explosion that when it comes out, that every Vans ad, you have a 50% chance of seeing like a Ride snowboard. So he's like, let's just piggyback that and just, live off that. And it actually worked because Ojo, it was Cole. There were just so many Ride athletes on it. So it honestly took a lot of pressure off of me. I was like, okay, I'm going to go focus on some of the other athletes that I may not get to shoot with a bunch. It was kind of dope.
I mean, it's cool too that he's smart enough to recognize that, because a lot of people in that position don't. They just want all their riders to focus on them all the time, and they don't realize the benefits of like sort of letting everyone spread out a little bit, and how nowadays, especially with social media and all this other stuff, it's all coming back and everyone has had something to benefit from it, especially if the project is substantial.
Well, I just have to go on record and tell you face to face that if I had a top 10 individual video parts of all time, your Landline part is in my top 10.
Oh shit.
And that spans 35 years. I'm talking like from like technical difficulties to, VG coming out this year. It was impeccable in my opinion.
That's crazy. Thanks. I mean, definitely the most effort I ever put into something. I got a Transworld award for that part, but it did feel a little bit like, because that year Landline didn't win video of the year.
It didn't?
No, dude.
What won?
Kazu's video.
Oh, Kamikaze. That's right.
Which like interesting, because I don't know, these interviews happen, podcasts, I listen to the Bombhole and all this stuff, and like you hear how much a video like Landline gets brought up.
Yeah. Yeah. It holds up. It holds
did
up.
Landline? Sure. Yeah, but did Landline win Movie of the Year for Snowboarder?
Yeah,
actually.
I would be very shocked if it didn't.
I think I'm just thinking about the Transworld one more specifically, because that was the one I won. I won men's video part with that, but it felt like a little bit of like we'll just throw them a bone because like we didn't give him the video of the year, so we might as well give Jake the video part.
No, it was deserving, man. It was deserving for sure.
That was when, did you go up on stage? That was when they had like full award shows. Like you went up on stage.
We went on stage. That was cool. I mean, they
Yeah.
don't do anything like that anymore. It felt crazy.
Yeah, those
Okay.
awards, the Trans World Awards, as someone who worked at Snowboarder, always felt bigger just because they had like a live show, and it was really cool. I went to like 3 of them, and they were super fun.
Yeah, they were special. And the way that like people would find out if they won before, and you'd kind of get like flown there in secrecy, and then the whole thing kind of, it was rad.
When they closed that office down, I definitely had I have a few Riders Pull awards like somewhere in my basement, like the glass. I think I have a Haldor one just because they were just like tossing stuff out, and I was like, like I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. It's like a paperweight, but I might as well take some stuff.
Why didn't Haldor have his own award? He just was like too drunk and forgot it when he left.
Oh, I'm sure there's and if guys didn't,
He has like 100 of them. It doesn't care. It doesn't matter anymore.
yeah, and if guys didn't show up or whatever, like, they would get shipped back to the office and wait until they came in or whatever. But then they basically, I think they finally tore up the skate park in there. Like, they tore up those offices. They threw away a ton of shit.
Dude, you got to put those awards behind you in view. Like, you got to put them on that.
Yeah, because I know I'm doing a podcast. I just kind of set dress the whole thing. I'm like, all of my career accolades just lined up. I got like my board just on the wall.
Yeah, no, man. I think your look is as far as the minimalist, you have a very good minimalist vibe going on here. You have
I actually struggled with this before getting on the phone with you guys because there's a lot of windows in here, which is great, but then they're all to my back, and so I get like crazy backlit when I do these calls. And if it's like a van zoom or whatever, it's a little less important. But I knew you guys were like filming, so I'm like, oh shit, I should probably spin around and get some natural light coming my way.
T-Bird's in a garage. I'm in my kitchen. Normally someone is cooking like 10 feet from me. And you also have the tiniest lamp I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's
That one?
That's dope.
My friend made that. Kalen Bob. Yeah, I like that lamp. It's cute. It kind of looks like, it reminds me of like a little it's like a little tree branch just kind of coming into your space or something.
Back to a kind of a serious question, just on social media stuff, because we don't know each other that well. It does seem like you've taken Kennedy Deck under your wing.
Yeah, Kennedy is the freaking best. I don't know. I think it's just kind of one of those things where at the point in which we met each other, there was just so much in common between us, and it's nice to have one of those friends where you kind of just are always on the same page a little bit. Like, someone where like you can be in an experience together and something goes on and you can look at each other and realize you're thinking the exact same fucking thing and you don't even have to exchange words. It's kind of like one of those people where when I'm with them, whether that's filming snowboarding or just hanging out, I'm like grateful to have someone like Kennedy around. And so, I mean, selfishly, it's for the time that we spend is for me. I guess you could say I like help them in these ways, but they helped me very much too. So I mean, I'm just grateful to have people like that around, because snowboarding for the longest time didn't have people like that around for me, So nowadays it's something like I love it. I cherish it.
Do the two of you have any projects coming up in the future you can leak, or you're just gonna keep riding together and kind of just see what comes of it?
It's funny you ask. An opportunity came up like earlier last week out of nowhere where we might be able to make something this coming winter together. So we're kind of discussing it right now this week. Actually, we're getting a call to figure it out. It's so early and not sure what it's going to look like, but already the people that we're having discussions with to get involved, it's going to be, I hope if it happens the way we're planning, it'll be really cool. But it's hard. And nowadays, I mean, we really have been thinking this week about, we want to do something that feels really different, obviously, and every year you say this, but it's crazy. So much has been done now, and I've been doing this for so long. Like, I feel like I have to really consider what is going to feel new and exciting for me and for people watching,
Yeah. What about the whole era of films that is chasing what you have done in Landline and in video, like BG stuff, all that? I mean, everyone's trying to be an individual, but then things do kind of mesh and look similar. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I'm not necessarily trying to film 16 anymore for like that exact reason. It's beautiful and it's so cool. It's such a fun thing to use. But I watch the videos now and I'm just like, okay, this doesn't feel special at all. People just pay $1 million for the camera, load it up with some film and just rifle it off and think that's it, call it a day. I mean, it is cool though. I love it. And I think the fact that some of the stuff that from my friends and I have worked on in the past is like inspiring other people is like the dopest thing ever. And in some ways it's cool because it just pushes you to want to do new things and try to find what might be the next exciting thing, or get completely inspired by what it is they're doing. Because, you know, they've taken some kind of idea and ran with it in a totally different direction. And that's rad too.
I guess like as far as taking chances, have you taken creative chances that kind of didn't turn out well? Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah. I mean, like I've been doing board graphics with K2 for years, and every single time we do it, I definitely focus a lot on creating something that is going to look different from not only the board I did before, but hopefully all the other boards. And with that comes risks, especially because snowboards are so expensive. And to tell the story of your graphic concept in 2 seconds with someone who's just standing on the floor of a shop staring at something is pretty tough. So like considering all those things is an interesting challenge. And I don't think, honestly, that I can pretty confidently say, I guess none of them have flopped yet, but like every year I definitely push towards trying to do something that's like a little bit more risky or telling like a bigger story, because I look at having like a pro board as being something that is like a crazy opportunity, and it's a shame to not say something with it or try to do something bigger and like push, whether that's like graphics or snowboarding, into a place that maybe it hasn't gone before or something, is important. Otherwise you're just making boring shit. But I don't know if that fully answers it, but I guess it just makes me think about board graphics in that way.
That's perfect.
Looking ahead to the summer, any hood trips planned for you? Are you going to make your way down here at all?
Yeah. We're going to be there. There's like a Vans week at the camp again this year, and we'll go for that for sure. But then also too, weirdly enough, it sounds like, you know, some of the brands want to do trips down south. So I haven't been to Argentina or anything like that in quite some time. So I'm hoping to get something like that going, because it would be so rad to ride some powder in like August, you know?
That'd be so nice.
Yeah.
We've taken an hour and a half of your time, ran a little long, but that's what happens when you're talking to awesome people. To happen.
Yeah, that was really fun. Thanks, guys.
Well, just know that Mark and I kind of started this thing and we're like, yeah, let's just see where it goes. And you even just hitting me up saying that you listen and that you like it was so like incredibly validating for both of us. I texted Mark immediately. I'm like, Kuzyk listens. He likes it.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck yeah.
For non-podcast stuff, do you have any tips? Because like really, we have no idea what we're doing yet.
Which is what, again, I'll say why I think what drew me to it is the fact that not that you don't know what you're doing, because clearly you do. You're both very talented at it, and you know, you have the gift of communication in this way. But I like how there's no structure. I think it's cool. It's more interesting. You don't know what's coming. The more you guys talk about all the other little shit they get into and that, I think just keep rocking with that. That's fun.
Jake, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you as a friend, you as a snowboarder, you as a human. You're the best.
Thanks, fellas. I appreciate y'all letting me come to chit chat. That was dope.
Awesome, buddy.
We'd have you back anytime, please.
Anytime. Dude, Jake Kuzyk, that is validating to me. That's a big one.
And more importantly, he listens to the podcast, so that should be validating to any potential sponsors out there.
No, that was an incredible conversation and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. That dude is one of my favorite pro snowboarders of all time. He is just such an awesome and dynamic snowboarder, human being, artist, filmmaker, skateboarder. I'm just a big fan. That was a really cool experience.
Yeah, I mean I really have not spent any time with him, so to get to talk with him like that was pretty awesome. Thank you for being friends with him and setting that up.
I mean, how dope is that for you? Like, I'm sure you've been a fan for the longest time. You haven't spent a lot of time with him in person, yet you get to meet him through this like rad new medium that we're kind of trying out. That's sick.
Yeah, that's why I want to keep doing this. I mean, that if we quit the podcast right now, I'd be very happy. It was all worth it. Yeah, no, I'm down to keep doing this. This is really fun.
What is the rest of your day looking like?
You ask me this every time. What's the rest of your day looking like?
The rest of my day is I got to call Rob Rothler in about 15 minutes, do a quick interview for him. Then I'm going to do some other work. And then I'm going to pick up Louis at school around 4 o'clock and probably call it a day.
Once again, phenomenal talk with Jake Kuzyk. Thank you all for listening. We'll talk to you guys later.
All right, buddy. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.
Later.